Maybe we can go like for an approach more from a cultural aspect.
Yeah, because you are both from Latin America, but you're doing your research here in France and have been doing so for a while. So I was wondering if you notice big differences maybe in the marketing approach for food products or just food consumption in general between the different cultures.
What can I say? I mean, there is a lot to say actually, because and I think it goes by hand with one aspect that Marianela just talked about later, is the context. And if we take two different countries, we have two different contexts that go from cultural, historical, economical to more specific context where we make food choices like supermarkets, restaurants, and at home. So it's, I think that one of the difference that we see and is related not even to something that we can control, but is the seasons. The fact that in Colombia we don't have this like the 4 seasons that we have here in France will allow people in Colombia to have food choices that are regular over time. They can eat the same or they can find the same food products all year around. Something that here, I mean, we cannot find a watermelon now in winter. So you every 3 months here you have to adapt to the new season that is coming, and that season will shape the food availability, the food cooking, and what you will consume at the end. And so I think that's one aspect that will shape the different aspects related to food choices. And another thing is that, for example, in that availability, I see difference. For example, in the supermarket, we will think that all supermarkets are the same, and then we will go and find roughly the same because we are, it's a supermarket. But actually, since I have done some observations in French supermarkets and I have my experience in Colombia, it's quite different. And this will, I think, impact consumer final choices and their behavior during the day, like their eating behavior, what they eat for breakfast. I mean, I don't imagine myself in Colombia eating a croissant or a pan au chocolat in the morning, or not eating anything at all. You know, that kind of difference. And I think it's all based in availability and cultural difference that will change how we eat.
Very interesting to hear. I wonder how it would be like, for example, here in France, there are a lot of seasonal marketing strategies, like products surrounded, for example, for things you can only buy in the spring. But maybe if you in Colombia have the same products all year round, that's not the case in supermarkets. You don't have the seasonal advertisements then.
Yeah. Marianela, what do you think?
A lot of things, because it's kind of one axis of my PhD project. So I've been reading pretty much a lot. I will try to be brief. Feel free to cut if you think I am speaking too much.
Okay.
I think I would start, as Juliana said, the context is really different from my origin country is Mexico, compared with France. The social and economic context of both countries are really different. Since this economical point of view, I must say that I find that France is a country that has a more or less economic it's more stable. And in Mexico, we live a reality that we can have the most one of the most rich men in the world. But as well, according to, I wrote the source, the Economic Commission for Latin America and Caribbean, Mexico has 52.4 million of poor people. That represents 40% of poverty in Mexico. And the rest, around the 50%, is medium class, and a really small but not despicable percentage, like around 2%, are really in extreme poverty. People is really dying because they are poor. So I think this is not going on in France. So since this hard context, I think the food, despite of the food offer in Mexico is really plenty. Mexico is a country that has the agriculture is really vast. We can grow plants everywhere. So I think that's one difference. For example, in Africa, where the soil is dry, whereas in Mexico it should be impossible that people is dying from not having food. The problem then is not the food around, is also the health system, the political system, and the social system. So a second thing that was coming to my mind when comparing this social and economical part is that our styles of consuming are really different, and it has been proven that when you have a medium class your medium class and your poor class are more representative of your country, marketing can really induce a state of wealth or a well-being state by consuming. And this plus the access as well to unhealthy food with no restriction, with no the government and the health institution have little to say about versus the great companies working there. So people is exposed to these, let's say, dangers of having bad choices, but because it's the only choices they have. One example I like to speak, and when I try to make French people to understand, for instance, why Mexicans consume this soda that is cola instead of drinking water, and I said, because water is not potable in Mexico, we cannot just open the sink and drink. We need to buy. And if we need to buy liquid, because liquid we need to live, people tend to go for a high-calorie caffeine and sugar more than plain water. So maybe that's why we are facing these obesity problems. That, as you know, another thing that is different from France to Mexico is that Mexico is in the top 10 of countries with the most cases of obesity and overweight. So that is another thing. So the social, the government's protection, and yes, and as I said, the marketing is really targeting this weak part of an education, because the index of education of I think the name is alphabetization is really low, contrary to France. France is, I must say, that is I don't know, a great percentage of people have access to education. I don't know, since I think almost all people are having a bachelor's level, whereas in Mexico they barely, if we do the mean of education is less than third grade of primary school. So this is really low. This is really low because people need then to go to work and they quit their studies. So, well, that, and what else I wanted to say if we compare, yes, and I would speak about something less, let's say, less dramatic and sad. Something that we share with France is our social rituals around food are pretty much the same. in France and in Mexico, people like to eat with people. So eating is a social behavior. So it's not, we can see it, for example, in weddings or in Christmas or in holidays, that people organize everything around food, and they have this in common, that eating and sharing food, it makes right. In Mexico, it's the same thing. We almost, when we need to celebrate something, the first thing we think about is, what are we cooking for this special occasion? And I think these things make us, both countries, to relate the food intake or specific food that is prepared for parties with this social well-being, social relationships, and well, so this is my my answer as a science in the scientific way of food and culture approach. And as I said, as a consumer, I don't put attention in France to the marketing because I think it's not target to me. I don't feel I am French. So for me, I don't feel that the marketing is to me. If I see one commercial in the TV, or I don't know, some brand in the street, I don't feel identified. So I think that I cannot answer as well as a consumer, or yes, because I can say, well, this marketing is bad. I don't feel attracted to a croissant. I don't feel attracted to buy this foie gras, this perfume. I don't feel concerned. So whereas in Mexico, it can be the opposite. Marketing is, even if it's not addressed to the mean of the population, this medium class and these poor people, they try by the marketing to make you think that by buying this or consuming that, you are tend to become these people that is in this photo, in this video, in this situation.
You mentioned a lot of points, and interesting to see that it's definitely not one thing you can pinpoint that causes the differences between the cultures, but that there are so many influences which cause the differences.
I think Juliana raised her hand. Maybe you want to say addition some, Juliana?
Yes, when you were talking, Marianela, about the similarities, I just thought that one of the similarities I can find between Colombia and France is the important place of meat as a social factor, as something that when you have meat is because you are like in a high social position. That's how it was here in France a couple years ago, and I think that's how it is in Colombia now. And I think that central place of meat could have an impact on those sustainable food choices in the future. So I think that's one similarity that I just came out to my mind, and I wanted to share with you.
No, you're
the meat expert. Yes. Well, if I can add from the point of view of Mexican towards meat, I think we can divide in people that cannot even afford to think they can buy meat, people that they can afford and sometimes they do it, and people that can afford to don't to have the choice of not eating meat because they know how to have access to how you say, it's not complements, it's to the
other source of protein.
Sources of protein.
Yeah.
So it's like this kind of things, and it is a tendency in Mexico that high class people, they reject meat, of course, because of these sustainable, ecological, etc. But they can't allow themselves. They are willing to pay the same price of a meal that does not include meat, just to say that they are helping the world and etc. So they can afford it. So let's say it's these three different kind of
Yes,
meat consumption.
I think there is a lot to see and to investigate further on that topic, and more in those. I would say Colombia is a little bit more developing country than Mexico, because Mexico is, I think, a little bit bigger and huge in the size, but also the economical point of view, I think they are a little bit step forward. So I think that will make difference between the different cultures regarding this topic.
But I think one thing common between Colombia and Mexico is our indigenous past, that we have really this mix between the indigenous meals and the more modern meals. And I think that will always be a richness of our food choices. And this is also reminding us our roots. When we are having a typical meal, we feel like we are home. When I am in France, I've been living here for almost 4 years, and every time I have the lucky to prepare a meal from my hometown, I don't know, it's like heaven.
It's like a connection.
It's reminding me the years in the past of people cooking this in family, and of course it's reminding me my own family. And I think it's the same thing for all, that this thing is shared from all cultures. What is our meals, our food, our is something really, really big, and this does not needs marketing or neuromarketing or neuroscience behind. Is directly linked with our most inner need to feed ourselves, but is highly linked with this reward, this memory, these emotions. I don't know, it's like the French writer Proust with the Madeleine.
Yeah.
You eat this Madeleine and everything is coming, like Ratatouille, when this judge is eating and everything is. This is the strong link with food and cognition. So it's up to the ones who have this power to do marketing, as I said, not to induce, but maybe to clarify what is our choices, what are making us.
Now, if we give this a little bit of context with the reality of nowadays, and that the fact that COVID has arrived and now the consumers' options has also changing. So it is true that it has impacted our consumption, our shopping habits, with all the confinements, with the mask, and in general with the situation that has accelerated trends and impact in so many ways our life. So we can actually do another seminar about this topic, how food choices have changed. But in terms of food behavior, these food choices, what will be the first thing that you consider or that you can perceive, maybe as a scientist or a consumer, that has been affected by this pandemic?
I don't know. I will. I'm just thinking about it. I don't know now, but I know that in the first lockdown, there were the more noticeable changes, because there were shortcuts of food products you cannot find in the shelves. Like there was not flour, not sugar, not eggs, things that you thought that were always available. In one moment they were not. So I think that shape the way we buy and the way we consume and the way we prepare food. Because if you cannot find that specific ingredient, you have to switch and find another one that will kind of give you what you wanted or would allow you to make what you wanted. So you just have to think differently and you have to adapt. And I think that's one of the biggest changes, that perhaps having those inconveniences allow us to have an understanding of what we could do differently, change our recipes, having more time to cook. And with that goes into, in parallel, the fact that, for example, as restaurants and coffee shops and everything is closed, the social interactions around food are different now. And those social interactions, we know they are important. We know that they shape what we consume, and they are part of our human being to be social. And I think that's another change in the way we behave. And lastly, from my experience during the first and looking around, doing some research during the first lockdown, I found out, for example, that the green lentils, one type of green lentils that is sold in Puy, there is a region here in France that is protected with a geographical indication. The increase of sales in that product was so higher that there was not stock available with that kind of food product. And it's one kind of product that in the everyday you will see, regularly on the shelves, and it's that. But during the lockdown, maybe perhaps people have more time to cook, or they were, trying to buy more local food products. And that's one example of a positive, a positive consequence of the lockdown, that they were able to go towards a local food product, a good and healthy food product. And I hope that once they taste it, prepare it, and make it part of their cuisine, that maybe that's something that will continue on in right now, for example. So I think we have both. We have more positive things, some others that are more negative, but I think definitely it shaped our way of consuming, our way of eating, and our food choices in general.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I share a bit of your point of view. And what about you, Marianela? What do you think about this?
So I think Juliana is right. I was thinking the same thing when we all learned that we will be locked down. People run to buy things because we remember that, yes, we need to eat, otherwise we will die. But this fear of starving, what was really funny for me is that, as Juliana said, flour, sugar, salt, etc., but toilet paper. People were afraid to lose what is comfort from them, since the eating, something that if you don't have, you die, to the comfort of having toilet paper. And I say, what is wrong with us? That we it's the end of the world, and we finish also with the stock of this. So it's these fears, these irrational fears that make us behave and showing our real faces. We were all scared. I must say I was scared because something unknown will arrive from the next weeks to come. And I think I perceive a generalized loss of freedom and the fear to the future, what will going on after. And these negative feelings, I think I observe around, and I read news and everything, two types of behaviors. It were those who these negative feelings were coped by the need to consume. Okay, I will stock. I need even things we don't need to survive, but I consume. And people that really decrease their needs to consume because they realize that consumism was something that was having something in their everyday lives that, in the context of being at home, we don't really need. We could live with the same pair of jeans for weeks because no one was watching our jeans. Differently, when we go to work, we don't like to put the same clothes when we go to the work, and this is some external things marketing do with our brains. When the context is there, that's why the sales of clothes and makeup, for example, decreased. Really, they went to the floor. But the increase of buying some other kind of things was also there, because I said for some consumers, buying was equal to feel good. They will feel good buying computers, telephones, installing internet. I took 1 month to have internet in my house because everyone was asking to have internet, because before they didn't have. So I was really surprised of this both behavior. And from other people, I think this lockdown helped them to put a stop in the crazy life every day, and they really could have the time to rethink about what we have been doing wrong. I mean, when I am working, I barely sit and I barely see what I am eating. But in the lockdown, for example, me, I had the opportunity to cook every day at every meal. Breakfast and the meal and dinner, I was cooking. And because I was cooking, I was paying a lot of more attention of the products, the ingredients I need. And because the takeout was really expensive, we couldn't afford to have takeout every day. The takeout really became something special. And sometimes we wonder ourselves why I would spend 50% more of the price compared with cooking home for something I can do myself. So I think that is another feeling I got. And the last thing, as I said, because I was locked down with my husband and my daughter watches everything I do, I needed to behave. I needed to eat correctly because she was watching at me. So I couldn't say, eat your vegetables, and I don't eat vegetables. Finish your meal if I am not finishing my meal. Don't eat a cookie. It's not time to eat cookie. I couldn't go myself to serve a cookie, otherwise she will ask for a cookie. You know what I mean? Is I think also the fact that I was being watched like the big brother, but the mini brother around. I think that make myself to change, to behave. I said, let's go to do sport. Let's go outside in our hour that we have the right out. I think that changed a lot of things that I was willing to keep even the lockdown was up. For example, now I cook more, and I saw that really economically is more interesting than to buy outside. And I am sure that at least I know what is in my dish, and I know that it's me who selected. Okay, I don't know how the specificities of how it was grown up or the transportation and everything, but something changed. And I think I was lucky to be part of this panel consumers study, where they address this question to us, how we change after this lockdown. It was a study carried out by the CGA, and a lot of people took really more time to look into the packages, to look in the ingredients, they have the time to compare prices, because most of them were doing online shopping, so you can really go in the ingredients, you can really compare, something we don't have necessarily the time to do in normal days. So people were really conscious. They were taking more time to think about that, because meals were something that were, at least from my point of view, something that I was still free to do, to decide what I will eat, what I will buy, and when I will do it. It's not because, oh, it's 12, I need to go because then at 1 it will be closed. Or I will eat at 7 because I have to start at 8. I would wake up at the hour I wanted to wake up. I could eat at the hour I needed to eat. And surprisingly, I feel really, really good by having this routine, listening more to my needs than the external society needs around food. Yeah, that's my experience about the pandemic.
Thank you. It's very interesting. It's good. I guess a lot of people learn how to cook and to modulate their own decisions around food. So yes, you both are right. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. No. In summary, I think we talked about different subtopics in the big topic that is role of marketing and consumer studies and consumer behavior. These subtopics that make us more conscious on our context and our daily food decisions and our own attitudes and our body networks that we're not really aware that exist. And I think this is an invitation for those who are gonna watch this discussion. It's an invitation for them and for us to think more about not only how the pandemic is gonna affect our decisions, but our how our decisions, previous decisions, not how our future decisions are shaped and are can be in our control if we want, or if we read more, if we are more informed. And yeah, I think it was very interesting to see both of your perspectives, and we really appreciate your time to be here and talk about your from your experience and about your personal. I think it's not only like a professional approach, but I like to kind of feel like it is a personal concern, and I think that's very something that we really appreciate.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you for the invitation.
No, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna finish here. I guess if someone someone that watches has a question, can address us directly, and we will let you know if there is any question, any doubt directly.